Right, welcome again to today's session. We will be looking forward to having another microservice that will be the department service for the employees, and we'll be able to see how well that is given whenever we are dealing with the connection, so that we can be able to break down the different microservices from if you check on the employee dev MySQL employee Sakida structure, we can be able to check on this particular employee. So we have created a service for this employee section. We want to create a service for the departments, and usually is that employee will be linked to a department. So we are going to see how this employee, whenever we are fetching the data for the employee, we are able to get back also the department information to do with the name and number. So we are going to do this first. We are going to bootstrap our application using VS Code for the departments section. So I'm going to quickly come to our workspace, and then from here I'm going to just press Ctrl+Shift+P, and then from there I'm going to just say initializer. So I'm going to search for initializer, and then in this case we are going to make use of create a Maven project, and then I'm going to select 3.25 Java, and then for this I'm going to be io.github.io.github.io.John. Then from there I'm going to give this one as a department service. Its packaging is going to be jar 17, and then I'm going to actually make use of the previously used configuration from the employee service, everything, and then I'm going to generate this one within the Spring Boot demo folder. You can see that now I've been able to generate that, and then I'm going to add to workspace, and that automatically will be able to have my new application with the various dependencies. The first thing that I usually do is going to be changing the version here to be 1.0.0. And then for this case we are going to give the description to be department micro service. So I'm going to have that way, so micro delete service that way. Then I'm going to also make use of actuator endpoint. We're going to expose that. We're going to expose JPA information. We're going to do the starter web information. Then we have the dev tools for automatic restart. We're making use of MySQL connector, and then the configuration processor. We have Lombok, and also the starter test dependencies. Now the next thing that we need to do is to automatically configure our Maven zip plugin to be able to push this particular image to GitHub. So to do that, I'm going to go to the employee service and then open the POM file. And then the next thing that we're going to do is copy this particular section. So I'm going to copy this particular plugin, copy that, and then have that particular plugin added to our new application. So this is going to make use of Eclipse Tamlin 17.041 and 1 JRE. Then we're going to deploy this particular application to registry hub Docker, and then my username, then followed by the project artifact ID, and then the project version. All right. So to do that, that is done for automatic build of our application to Docker Hub. And then the next thing I'm going to adjust is going to be adding these two dependencies for the validations and also the model mapper. So I'm going just to copy that and bring them to the department service and have that here. All right, that is how a simple bootstrap of this application looks like. Now the next thing that you need to do, we are going to kind of copy some of the files. So I'm going to go to the SRC, and then within the SRC I'm going to have the main resources file. I'm going to copy the application YAML file, copy that, and then we're going to have it within the main resources file, and then I'm going to paste it here. Alright, so I'm going to delete the application properties from here. Then everything else here, we are going to now give the different name for this service. It's going to be department service. Then everything else, the host is going to remain the same, all these other details. But then now here you're going to make use of the department DB name, and this particular variable we are going to make use of department DB. So you can just make use of it, department DB, that way. So that's all that we need to configure, and everything, the show SQL to true, and we are exposing the endpoints. As you can see, we are duplicating the configuration, so we need to start thinking of how you are going to centralize all this configuration for databases, and then give the different values whenever it's a different service, right? So that is underway, but then for now we are going to change all this and copy the same things that we had, and then everything else will be okay. Now the next thing that we are going to do is to quickly check whether our application is up and running, can be up and running. For this one, I'm going to add this to user settings. I don't have that gray or yellow option given there. So I think that's all. It looks okay. Now I'm going to quickly run this particular application, and you can see that I need to fix this one by cleaning the workspace and cache, and I'm going to reload and delete. So that is going to reload my applications once again for the refresh. Okay, now the refresh has been done, so let's run the application once again. So it's going to compile and resolve the launch configuration information and start our application. So that's the initial setup that we need to do. Then we can also proceed to configure the entities and all that end to end, and we can now, in the next session, we'll be able to package it and push that for Kubernetes deployment. And then we'll be able to see how then do we generate different versions of this particular application along. Okay, so I need also to create this database within my local instance. So I might just to do docker exec -it, then MySQL, and then bash. So I might just do MySQL -u root, then -p, then generic, then create. So I'm going to create this database, create database employee department DB, and you can be able to see now that has been created. So show databases. You can see that now I have my database for department DB and employee. So in this case, now if I run the application once again, you'll be able to see that it should be able to connect to the same database. I hope so. Alright, so you can see that now our application is started on port 8080. So, and also we have exposed the 13 endpoints under the actuator endpoint. So what we're going to do quickly is going to create the instance or the different folders or packages within this particular service. And the first folder that you're going to create is going to be the config. And then the other one is going to be the controller. From the controller logic, you're going to have the controller. Then from there, I need to go to the service layer, and then from there, the department, we are going to create the repository layer. Then from there, we are going to create the model layer for the DTOs. And then from there, we are going to create the entity layer, so entity. So all that. So our entities are going to be very simple, given the department number and the department name. So we are going to make use of a simple entity which is going to be department.java, Alright, so from here we just define a simple custom entity, and in this case you're going to do at entity. So entity coming from Jakarta persistence, then so you're going to do at table, and we are going to make use of the name is going to be equal to name is going to be tbl underscore departments. Alright, then subsequent to it we are going to have unique department name. So first we need to have the department number at ID, then we're going to have private integer department number. Alright, so above it we are going to do at column, so that we can be able to override the column that is going to generate within the DB, and then the name of this column is going to be what is here, so department hyphen number, so DPT underscore number. Alright, so once this is done, and then we need the generation strategy, so it's going to be a generated value that way, and then we are going to make use of a strategy. It's going to be generation type dot identity for MySQL. Alright, the next thing that we need here is going to be the string of a department name, so it's going to be string department name. Alright, and this department name is going to be simple. We are going to pick that column and then specify the same value which is here, dptn name, so it's going to be name that way. And then from here we need to do some validations, so I'm going to have at not empty validation or not blank validation to ensure that this particular field is going to must not be null and must contain at least one non-white space character, and that is what we are going to do validation on. And ideally that is all about this, but then for our departments we want to ensure that it's a unique field and we can be able to do the indexing whenever we have made departments. So we are going to see how do we specify that within the annotation of the table. So if you put a comma here, you'd have different sections, so you can be able to see that we have indexes, the schema and catalog, and the unique constraint. So we are going to do the first thing, we are going to index the department name. So here we are going to do indexes, and then we are going to have an array object. So for this, I'm going to put this one into a new line so that can be able to have that, and then the next comma we are going to have unique constraints, and then this is going to be also an array. So if I format that, you'll be able to see that now to it that we should be having something like this down here and this one. So you want to push this one a little bit in, that you'll be able to see clearly. Okay, fine. So we can define them that way. So indexes, we are going to index the department name. So we are going to specify at index. All right. Then from here we are going to give the index the name. So it's going to be at index. And then from here we are going to give column lists. For this one, we are going to have the index for this column list. We are going to index the first column is going to be the department name, so you need to specify this here as the index. Right, now that is the only indexing column that we are going to have, and also we need it to be unique, so we are going to ensure at unique constraint, and then we are going to have the properties is going to be the column names, and in this case we are going to have this one as column names is going to be the department name to be unique. Right, so that is all. I think everything else you are going to have the column names and all that, and then for the indexes you can be able to see that now it's going to create an index column in this regard, so you can be able to see that. So we are going to create an index for that. So once you save that, you'll be able to see that now our SQL statement will be created down here, which will be able to show what ideally we are creating. So let me just expand this, and you can be able to see ideally that we are able to create TPL departments, department number and auto increment, department name, primary key, and then from there we have this particular index created on this table, and then we have also having a unique constraint for this one under the department name. So that's how you can be able to specify different constraints and all that. So let me see whether we have other. The name of this constraint, you can just give the name as unique underscore department name. So I can just go with department name that way, dpt. So I need to translate this one to uppercase. So dpt underscore name. So we are going to create that this way. And then for also the index, you can be able to give it a name. So if you do that, you can give it a name. And in this case, we are going to have the name to being IDX, and then you're going to have the IDX, and then I'm going to give the table name, which is going to be TPL department. So I need to have this one into uppercase. So TPL IDX TPL departments underscore underscore department dpt underscore name. So I'm going to have the index named that way, so that I don't have this funny unique keys generated, so that I'm able to know whenever I'm dealing with this one, is going to be unique and then underscore the table name and then underscore the variable name in caps. So once I save that, I'm going to actually restart my application, so that so you can see now this has been created, but then I want to quickly delete this particular database, drop it, and then I can recreate it so that we have everything set, and then create it again. Then I'm going just to make just a simple item here. Remember, we have annotated this one at entity at table. We need to have at getter and setter. So I'm going just to make use of at data annotation, and then from there we are going to have at all args constructor, and then at no args constructor, no args constructor, no args constructor, and then we are going to make use of the builder pattern to just have our builder for that. So once I save that, you'll be able to see that now my application is going to connect again, and now you can be able to see that now we have our database clearly created, and then you can see that everything now looks okay. Now the constraints are named correctly, and you can be able to see that that is all that we need to configure. All right, so that's all with regard to this. So you don't need to specify the unique here, but then now you can specify the constraint and it will be able to apply to that particular field. And if we just check on the actual query that was actually created, that the department name will be altered, and that is we are going to drop this particular unique department name, and then we add that particular constraint to that. So if you have many, you can be able to have comma here and then have another unique constraint. So you can be able to do the same thing for the indexing. You can be able to duplicate, but then this now allows you to specify different columns and combine them differently. So that's one way you can be able to specify all that. Okay, now the next thing that you need to do for our application is going to create the repository there. And this is going to be the department repository. So quickly, I'm going just to create that new file, and this is going to be department repository.java. Then we're going to have that as an interface. Right, and then for this, you're going just to extend JPA repository. So we need to extend that with the department followed by the integer. All right. So our repository is ready. We just need to import this from from the repository of the model. Then from here we are going to create our department service, so we are going to have that here. So department service .java, and then for this we are going to have an interface, and then from there we are within this folder we are going to create an implementation folder for that, whereby we are going to create another file, department service impl.java. Then for this we are going to implement the actual interface, so implement the department interface, which is this one. Then we need to annotate this one at service, so to make it a service. Then from there we need to inject the repository, so you need to inject this one using final department repository, and then we need to have that. And then from there we need a constructor for this department service here, and this is going to be public constructor, public this one, and then you specify the values, which is this one within that. And then from there we are just going to have this department repository equal to department repository, so you need to have y at the end also. Yeah, so that's all with that. Then so we have our service ready. We need the controller for this, so we are going to have the department controller. So I'm going just to quickly create that here, department controller .java. Then here we are going to annotate this one at REST controller, annotate it as a REST controller, and then from there we are going to make use of the request mapping. Then from here we are going to specify the base value of this controller. It's going to be API, then it's going to be API, then department. All right, so API, then slash department, and then we just need to inject the service. So I'm going just to copy the name of the service and bring it here, private final, and then department service, and that. And then we're going to do department service. Then from there we just need the constructor for that, so public constructor value for the department service inside here, and automatically be able to set that field to be equal to department service equal to department service. All right, so all is done, dusted. So what you need to do in our next session is now to expose the various endpoints that are pertaining to this particular department, and in so doing you'll be able to have achieved all that we require. So for now I'm just going to proceed and have this one saved within the repository. So the next thing I'm going to do is just copy the git ignore file that we had from here, and then delete the current one, and then paste that new one here, and then from there we just going to initialize this particular repository. So I'm going just to quickly stop the application and then go to cd department service, and then from there we just going to do git commit init. I'm going to init that, and then git commit add message, and this one is going to be initial base employee department service. So that is the initial setup. Then I need to create a repository for that, so I'll be having that pushed. But then now for now we need to push this particular image to Docker Hub. So I'm going to do that using Maven clean compile, and then zip, then build. So I'm going just to push that particular image to Docker Hub immediately, so that we'd have a sample skeleton of that particular image within the Docker Hub. Alright, so our application has been pushed, and you can be able to see that this is the version within Docker registry. So if I open this and go to Docker Hub and search for that, I think I should be able to find that for this particular image. I should be able to have the image, so I can just sign in. Okay, sign in with my Docker app. I think I need to go back home. Alright, so I've just signed in. As you can see now, we have a department service image pushed and created within the repository and with the tag 1.0.0. So in our next build, we'll be able to expose and create a deployment YAML file and deploy this particular application within Kubernetes. Thank you for watching the video. Remember to subscribe, share and like the video, and click on the notification bell icon to get notified whenever I do upload new videos of the same series. Thank you. Bye bye. Till next time.